guys, welcome to my channel. I'm gonna assume that you guys are new here because even though this is a lifestyle channel, I've been mostly posting videos about personal finance and some of my goals, such as paying off my student loan, spending less money, and essentially building wealth. If that is something you're interested in, then definitely check out my other videos. Today, however, I'm going to be focusing on Accutane and my journey with acne, which is unfortunately a part of my life, so very fitting for this channel. So I'm going to quickly go over my history with acne and why I decided to go on Accutane. So I have had acne since puberty, so around 11 years old up until now, and it's come and gone to some degree. I have used over-the-counter products on and off, and I've been with a dermatologist on and off for the last decade or so. So I have tried everything like most people with acne. The only thing that has ever been effective for my acne was oral antibiotics and topicals such as Accutane, and that had my skin pretty clear. Like, I had no acne, no dark marks. My skin was like the best ever. Unfortunately, antibiotics have a pretty significant side effect and are not recommended for long-term use. So one of the major side effects with taking antibiotics long-term is that it causes resistance for the bacteria itself, and it also changes the natural bacterial flora that is in your own body. So I determined that that was not something that I wanted to do long-term, even though I believe I was on antibiotics for about a year, which is pretty significant, but I realized, like I said before, that that wasn't a good idea, so I decided to get off antibiotics and switch solely to topicals. And I've been on topicals for the last couple years, and they work, as in they keep the acne at bay to some degree. Like, it's not as bad as it was when I was not using anything from the dermatologist or no prescriptions, but it's also like not totally clear, and I still get breakouts like every day or every time of the month. So yeah, so currently I am on, or was on, Dapsone, which is a topical antibiotic, and Retin-A Micro, which is retinol or tretinoin, at nighttime. Additionally, I started to try something else because I was having a lot of congestion / clogged pores, so I started using more beta hydroxy acids and alpha hydroxy acids right before I started Accutane. So that caused me to have a huge purge, which lasted over a month. So that was pretty frustrating. I don't know if it was a purge or my skin reacting badly to it. So when I decided to go to the dermatologist to get an Accutane, after the appointment, I decided to just stop most of the things that I was using on my face and just simplify my skincare routine. By the end of that month, my skin was relatively clear. As you will see, or you can see now, my skin does have some breakouts going on, and that is because of the Accutane. I've been on Accutane for 2 weeks now. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the type of acne that I have. I have, at the moment, hormonal acne. When I was younger, it was just typical teenage acne, but no, it is definitely more hormonal in nature, as in it comes around during or before my period, and it's in the areas that are usually associated with hormonal acne, right along the sides of the face, cheeks, and chin. In terms of my skin type varies. It used to be very oily when I was younger. Now it's like oily depending on the temperature or if I have makeup. Like, I feel like when I wear makeup, my oil glands produce more oil for some reason. If I'm not wearing makeup, then it tends to stay normal. Since I've been on Retin-A, and in the winter my skin becomes dry, so it's definitely temperamental nowadays versus in the past. So let's talk about the type of acne that I actually have at the moment. So on the sides of my face, like I said before, which is typical hormonal acne, I have it starting right around my temple, going down to my cheek. Some of the issues that I'm having right now are enlarged pores in the inner cheek area. I have some pustules. Occasionally I get blackheads. They've definitely diminished recently, but they still pop up every now and then. Then I also have some closed comedones, and there are several of them all over my face, which causes a pretty rough texture to my skin, which I really dislike. Once in a while I get cystic acne or a cystic pimple, but that usually comes to a head like in 1 to 2 weeks and turns into a pustule, then opens up and then it disappears. So it's not bad. I don't have scarring from acne, which I'm very fortunate for. I think if my acne was scarring, I probably would have gotten an Accutane a long time ago, but because it wasn't, and the topicals kind of helped in a way, like I kind of postponed on Accutane. So on this side of my face, it's the same thing. Some pretty large pustules here, and they're usually a combination of 2 or more pimples. So you can, or if I was closer to the camera or when I actually look in the mirror up close, you can see that there are like 2 to 3 separate pustules in the one giant pimple. Same thing, lots of closed comedones, which usually turn into full-blown pimples. So that's what's going on here. Of course, I have hyperpigmentation from all the acne that I've had in the past and recently, which was another thing that was bothering me, was the fact that my skin never ever got a chance to clear up, because as soon as one pimple went away, another one would pop up, and then it would start the cycle of, you know, more pimples and more dark spots. So my chin, occasionally I get some acne there. I do have some there at the moment, and my nose is relatively clear for the most part. I will get some tiny blackheads in there, but nothing that really bothers me. I also do occasionally get a buildup of sebum in some of my pores, specifically right between my eyebrows, on my nose, and in the folds, and those are usually easily extractable. Like after I wash my face with warm water, I can usually get them out. And my forehead usually does not break out, or it doesn't break out anymore. Last time I had significant acne on my forehead was as a teenager, so now it's relatively clear there, but occasionally I do get some acne, which is why there is some hyperpigmentation there as well. Okay, so to get on Accutane, it's kind of a laborious process, which is one of the reasons why I wasn't too keen on it. That and the fact that there are a pretty significant side effects. So, as I mentioned, I was breaking out significantly, which might have been from the fact that I was using more acids on my face and it was disrupting the protective barrier and causing my skin to react poorly, or it could just been like my acne was getting worse for like other reasons. So I decided to go to the dermatologist then when my acne was at the worst, as in most recently at the worst. So I went in that day. I had already been to this dermatologist before, and she's the one who prescribed me my previous topicals, so she knew my history and the fact that I had taken I had used different acne medications in the past, so she was okay to give me Accutane. So I felt that I needed Accutane versus more topicals or different type of topicals, because the only thing that has ever cleared my acne has been something that I had to take internally, which is antibiotics. I did try spironolactone for a short period of time, but the side effects were annoying and I wasn't mentally prepared for them at the time, so I did not follow through with the full course. Some of the side effects I had with that, because it is a diuretic, or it essentially makes you drier and makes you urinate more, was the fact that I had to urinate a lot, which was annoying. I had to drink a lot of water. Because it causes you to dry out so much, it does also cause low blood pressure, so I felt kind of weak and faint at times, so I decided not to continue with that. Back to Accutane. So you go in for the appointment, and I told her right then I wanted to be on Accutane, and she said fine, because she had already mentioned it to me in the past as well as an option. Once you determine that, you get signed up for iPledge, which is a federally regulated program by the government for patients that are taking Isotretinoin. It's especially stringent for females because of the fact that you can cause birth defects to your child if you become pregnant during your Accutane journey. And there are other things that you cannot do. So you can't give blood. That's another thing that they're big on. And the fact that it has so many side effects, especially with the most serious being depression and suicidal ideation. So those are some of the things that you and your dermatologist will discuss in the first appointment, and you will get signed up for iPledge. You'll also have to determine what type of birth control that you're going to be taking. So the options are for you to be abstinent, as in given no sexual contact with any males at all for like the duration of your Accutane program, or you can take 2 forms of birth control. So it has to be a hormonal type of birth control or a barrier form of birth control. So you decide if you wanted to be abstinent or take birth control, and that is entered into the iPledge system. Additionally, you will take your first pregnancy test. Then for me, that was a urine pregnancy test, which was nice, and that was done at the office. Then before your next appointment, when you will get the actual prescription of Accutane, you have to get some baseline labs, and that just is used as a reference to determine if you have any changes once you start taking Accutane. And for me, that was done off-site at a hospital, so it was not done in the office. I know some dermatologists have phlebotomy or lab possibilities where like in the office, but mine did not, so I had to like go out and get it done. So essentially a month after that first appointment, or essentially 31 days for me, you go in for your second appointment, and that is when you will get the actual prescription for Accutane. They're going to do another pregnancy test to make sure that you are still not pregnant, and then they will give you your prescription and also go over the same medication that you went over the first time, just to make sure that you're 100% clear of the risks and what is required of you when you take Accutane. Before you can pick up your prescription, you need to log into the iPledge system and answer a series of questions. And these questions are essentially about what you talked about with your doctor, which is the type of birth control you're going to use, how it works, what to do, what not to do, and the actual iPledge system, as in how things work. Once you fill that on the computer, it gets forwarded to the pharmacy, and the pharmacy knows that they can fill your prescription. I have insurance, so in terms of cost, every time I go to a specialist doctor, such as a dermatologist, I have to pay a copay of $30. For the labs, I spent $20, and then for the actual prescription, it was $25. Now, before I filled out my iPledge information, the pharmacy recognized that I hadn't filled it out and essentially mark the drug as without insurance because I hadn't filled it out. So without insurance, the medication was $352. So in total, with insurance, I paid $75. So you can possibly, depending on your insurance, expect to pay about $75 per month for Accutane. Now, as you know, Accutane no longer, or you may or may not know, that Accutane no longer exists as a brand name in the United States. Now it goes by other brand names, but it essentially is Isotretinoin. They're all the same in a way. There is one that is different than the other ones. I think it's called Absorbica, and that one is special in that you don't have to take it with meals because it already comes with lipids in the capsules. And the thing about Accutane is that it is best absorbed with fat or meals with fat. So every time you take the regular isotretinoin, you need to be taking it with a meal to help with absorption. So for my first dose of Accutane, I got 40 milligrams. And that is to be taken once a day. So the brand that I ended up getting was called Amnesteem, and then it says isotretinoin capsules, and these are 40 milligrams, and this is about the actual size of the capsule. There's the doses there again. And then like all packages of isotretinoin, it has the usual warnings on there about not getting pregnant. So there is the warning with the fetal deforms that your baby might have if you become pregnant. And then it has the little reminders once again on the actual capsules to not get pregnant while you're on the drug. So I take mine usually at lunchtime or dinner, depending on my work schedule or whether or not I'm at work. I don't take it in the morning because I usually don't eat a particularly large meal in the morning. I normally eat like a granola bar and coffee. So that has been working well. So now I'm going to talk about a few of the side effects that I experienced in the first 14 days of taking the drug, so essentially around 2 weeks so far. Okay, so when I first started taking the drug, essentially within the first hour I started to have side effects. And that might have been because I was hyper aware of the side effects of Accutane, so I was able to associate it with it. I guess if you didn't know what the side effects are or were, then you probably wouldn't have been as concerned. But I suggest that anyone that takes Accutane look up the side effects so that you're prepared. Otherwise, it will be difficult for you to continue with the entire dosage route if you are are aware of the side effects and what to look out for, like in terms of knowing what is an okay side effect versus what is an emergency and what means that you need to stop taking it and consult your doctor immediately. So within the first hour, it was strange. Like I felt kind of mentally foggy. I kind of had like a heavy feeling in my head, and then I had some minor GI issues, so like a little bit of stomach cramping, but lasting only like 1 to 5 minutes at that, and then it went away. So that was that. Within 24 hours, I had light sensitivity. I remember I was driving home from work, and it was just like unbearable to like look out at the sun. So I have sunglasses, of course, I put those on. I also started having mild headache, like on a scale of 0 to 10, they were probably like a 1 to 2 in terms of pain, so they were okay. I think one of the other side effects that are really bad is if you have a really bad headache, like let's say a 7 to a 10, and they're persistent, then that is something that you need to discuss with your doctor. Mild headaches are acceptable in terms of side effects to have, and I find that if I'm having a headache, it usually means that I'm dehydrated, and as you'll see, one of the side effects that I experienced was just being totally dehydrated. Once I started drinking more water, the headaches like dissipated and everything was better. So as soon as I have a headache, I drink a glass of water, and within a few minutes, like the headache is gone. So in line with that, I was very thirsty because I was so dehydrated. I drink a moderate amount of water, I would say, like not a lot. I just drink enough for when I'm thirsty and with meals. So on Accutane, I have been drinking like 2 to 3 times as much water. It's like constant. Like every hour I'm drinking water, and then of course, because I'm drinking so much water, then I have to use the bathroom a lot, which is a little bit inconvenient, especially when I'm working and it's not that easy to like get to the bathroom like quickly. So that is another thing, but it's best to stay hydrated no matter the cost, or else you're gonna have some really unpleasant side effects. Next thing I experienced was dry eyes. It was just like a weird feeling when I blinked. My eyes felt like they were sticking together a little bit more. Nothing awful that I needed eye drops, but I was just like aware that they were a little drier than normal. 48 hours plus from starting Accutane, I started to feel sore muscles, especially after laying in bed for a while and getting up. So the same day that I picked up my Accutane prescription, I actually went to a bar class. So it's like a fitness class, like with some ballet influence. So I did that. I took Accutane and then had sore calves afterwards, because one of the exercises that you do is like a releve, so you get on your tippy toes. So my calves were really sore, and for like 3 or 4 days my calves were sore every time I got up, and it was awful. So I would have to get up and stretch before I was able to like walk around normally, or else I would be in like a lot of pain. So that's something I noticed. Minor joint pain, just like feeling a little bit of pain, which honestly in the past I have felt randomly, even not being on Accutane. Just like every once in a while I might feel a little bit of pain, but nothing like crazy. So like the pain would have been like a 1 out of 10. Also noticed like a metallic taste in my mouth, and along with that I also felt like my mouth was dry, and then I had some burning and tingling on my lips. And then I started to have random generalized itching. Not like a crazy itching, but just like you can feel there's a little itch there, but nothing like crazy that you need to like scratch incessantly, but you just know it's there. So around 7 days in, I started to have increased soreness after working out, so more than usual, because I do work out 3 days a week every week. So I'm not necessarily sore unless I'm doing something like more than I normally do. But with Accutane, I've noticed that I've been sore even when I'm doing like a regular exercise that I always do. And another thing that I noticed was I started around 7 days in to get some cracking on my lips, and my lips started to become dry. Before that, they were not dry. They were just kind of like the texture changed, like they became thinner, and they were kind of like, what's the word, like crepey. Like if you were an older person and your skin was all wrinkly, it was kind of like that, but it wasn't like unbearable. But now it started to like crack and it was dry. Then I started to have like a burning, itching sensation on my face. So if you've ever done chemical peels or used retinol, you know that it makes your skin more sensitive, and that was a sensation that I was feeling. Like every once in a while I could feel like my face kind of burning and tingling. So 9 days in, once again with that, my skin became more sensitive. Even when I was putting on my normal moisturizers, which are totally mild. I was getting some burning and tingling, and that went away within a few seconds. It wasn't a big deal, it's just something I noticed. Then I started to have flaking on my skin and lips, kind of like if you did a chemical peel or retin-A, you start to get like slowly some sloughing on your skin, and that is what happened with me. I have eczema on my elbows, and that's usually under control because I moisturize my elbows pretty well, but recently I have a patch that has shown up on my right elbow, so I don't know if that's related to Accutane. More than likely it is, because it's usually pretty subdued, my eczema in the summertime, so it's probably just due to the Accutane. I started to see a little bit of flaking on my scalp, like nothing crazy, just like essentially dry skin. I wash my hair every 1 to 3 days depending on what's going on. As in wash, I mean conditioner wash, not with like actual shampoo, which is like entirely too drying. So I do that, and it's not a big deal. I haven't felt the need to like get anti-dandruff shampoo or something like that because it essentially isn't dandruff, so I haven't been doing anything like that. It's been fine. And then within the last few days I noticed that the texture of my skin has changed, as in the skin on my face. It's kind of gritty, feels kind of like a fine sandpaper. It's like weird. It's like a weird sensation actually. And then I noticed that when I put on my moisturizer, I'm like nice and dewy and hydrated, and then within like an hour, or if I wake up the next morning, my skin is like totally matte and dry. So that kind of sucks. Another thing that I noticed in terms of side effects, and this happened yesterday actually, was that I had some cracks inside of my lips, and that has a specific name, and it is one of the side effects for Accutane. So what I've been doing recently is just making sure that I focus on putting Aquaphor or lip balm on the corners of my lips so that so that those little cracks don't get wider, because I have seen them like turn into like pretty bad gashes that do not look good and can become quite painful. But right now they're in beginning stages and they're not really painful and they're really noticeable, but that's just something to keep in mind. Just make sure you do that so you don't have that issue in the future. So I have recently been using, or I've had to like up my moisture game. So what I have on my face now, as you can see, because you can see my acne, I don't have any makeup on and I just have moisturizer. So I have been using something from The Ordinary. This is the Marine Hyaluronics, and this is just a hydrator. So I've been like mixing that in with my moisturizer, which is just the Erno Laszlo Day Lotion, and this is a pretty rich moisturizer and I like it. I got it from TJ Maxx or Marshalls for like super cheap. If you buy it full price, it's totally not worth the price, but if you can get it at a discount, then definitely check it out. Recently I have been using Fix Plus as a base, so I'll spray this on my face and then apply my moisturizer, and that has been helping to keep my face hydrated longer versus just using moisturizer. So that's a good tip to try. Obviously you don't have to use Fix Plus because that's also expensive, but you can use any facial spray with like glycerin in it, which is one of the main ingredients in Fix Plus. And then for my lips, my dermatologist gave me a sample of Aquaphor, which I've been using and I actually like. I didn't think I was gonna like it. They also gave me a little thing of Vaseline, which I find hard to use because Vaseline has a weird taste to it and I don't like to taste it, whereas Aquaphor has no taste, so I prefer that. And Vaseline or Aquaphor both have petroleum in it, so they're kind of the same. Aquaphor has an additional ingredient in it which I don't remember, but it makes it slightly different and it doesn't taste as bad. But today I have on the Laneige Lip Sleeping Mask, and I've been using this forever. This is the vanilla flavor and this works pretty well. Normally I use it when I'm at home because I find like carrying this container around and like dipping my finger in it during the day is kind of like not the best, but I use it at home when I have access to like a sink and water to like keep my hands clean. So I usually use it then and then at nighttime, and I find that it keeps my lips pretty moisturized during the night. Sometimes it comes off in my sleep, but my lips are still moisturized without it on. So essentially if I wake up in the middle of the night or in the morning when it's not on, I simply just put on more so I can have that feeling of comfort, but my lips are like still pretty moisturized, so I really like that. So that is all for my Accutane journey 2 weeks in. Now if you guys have any questions about the side effects that I mentioned or how to get started on Accutane or anything at all, definitely leave them in the comments below. I enjoy reading them and answering them. Stay tuned for more on my Accutane journey. I expect to be updating in the next few months, or in the next month actually, for the first month to see how that goes, and then the consequent months. So if that interests you, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.